Hello again, everybody. It's Harry Boxer, the technical trader at thetechtrader.com. It's Saturday morning, November the 30th. This is the weekend webinar. Big week for the market. New highs across the board on most of the indices, and we just have to see if this thing continues or not, and whether we're getting a year-end rally or are we going to come down first. It sure looks like the market has fairly good underpinnings. The technicals improved the last couple of days. Let's take a look. Here's the S&P 500 in the last year. Since November, when it was late October, when it was trading at under 4,100, lowest 4,103 right there, and now it's over 6,000. So we have a 50% run up in about 13 months. Pretty amazing move on the S&P bottom to top. As you can see, nominal new high on Friday. It was a good last 8 of the last 9 days. The S&P's been up. Nominal new high Friday. Target could be around 61 and then 6,200, give or take a little bit. And key support right now on the S&P is 58, 50, 60, 56, 95, 57, right there. And if we get below 56.50, and we can begin to take out the trend line, we could start to really plunge into the 54 and even 51.5 range. So on the upside, again, you know what that is, and on the downside, we'll have to just keep a monitor on things. The NASDAQ 100 did not make a new high. It did 3 weeks ago. It's forming a big wedge, though, and it isn't quite as strong as the S&P 500. What you want to watch is key support right now at 20,315 to 350 in that zone. And beneath that, this is key, I think, multiple bottoms at 19,880. So anything under 19,850 or so, that would be disastrous for the market. We have had a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave move and now a wedge. Always cautious up here, but until the trend breaks, and I would say the first break is going to come under 20,315. That won't be good for the market, for the NASDAQ 100 anyway. Same with the S&P once it breaks down under 5880. We'll see if that occurs. And those are the two most important ones, but then we also have confirmation from the IWM, which made a nominal new high early in the week after 6 days in a row up, and then down one, and then two inside days. So this is 8 out of 9 days the IWM has been up, but it's forming a little micro wedge in here. Let's look at the hourly. See it? So let's call it a coil. Pretty interesting when you see that in an index. But it is near the top of the channel, so it's going to have some challenges up here. We should blow through. It could be spike up time. Take a look at a longer term chart weekly for the IWM. You may recall that in 20 and 21 it had a monster move and spiked up to 244.5. Friday's high was 244.98, and actually technically a nominal new high, I think. Let's see. 244.46, that's right, 244.98, but just by pennies. It closed 241.99, so we'll have to see if they can punch through or not and accelerate. But nevertheless, the recent action confirmed the action in the S&P anyway. Sorry. The transportation index also you can see broke out, retested, and popped, and that too has a little kind of a coil consolidation pattern here. Should be interesting to see what this does when we open up on Monday. But if they pop both of these, this gets to 18,000, and the IWM gets up towards 248. That's where you may want to consider thinking the market's extended. It depends on where the S&P is. So let's look at the underlying underpinning indicators. Where is the oscillator? McClellan oscillator, which consists of advanced declines and up-down volume. Here's your daily chart. You can see it's also backing and filling in here. I'd like to see it hold plus 40. Doesn't really matter. You don't chart this index. This index is best charted by overbought and oversold. Right now it's neutral. Okay, so we're not extended market-wise. Not really, although we did get up early in the week to plus 134, which is between 140 and 50, is a moderately overbought indicator, and that's why the market may have pulled back. But we'll see what happens with that. The percentage of stocks above their 40-day moving average comes in around 60. So in other words, 3 out of every 5 stocks are above their 40. Okay participation. You want to see better than that. So it might be some internal deterioration. We'll have to see what that means after we get another week worth of data. Volatility, well, fear is definitely not rising. As a matter of fact, we're at the lowest level we've seen since July, that being 1351. 1359 was a prior low. So this is actually as low as it's been. 1349. We only closed 2 cents off the low of the last 4 or 5 months. I'll tell you that little complacency in the market, or confidence anyway. All right, looking at the NASDAQ 100 generals, and they're pretty strong. Look at Apple at the triple, quadruple top up here. This is all-time high territory. We reached 237.23 there, 237.49, a nominal new high, and then 237.81, another nominal new high. Can we explode? If we do, the target's 255. Amazon, nice recovery. Let's call this a long 1, 2, 3, 4. Some people would say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I might agree. Key resistance 216.17 range, and the target is 228.30. Key support on Amazon right now can't let go below 195.6. Google broke down from its trend, broke underneath support and underneath the moving average and bounced back to it. This is not a strong chart, so be careful with that and watch Google's. Has to be stopped under 165 in my opinion. Microsoft really hasn't gone along with the market, and for months now it's been coiling sideways. Now if it breaks out above 441.2, yeah, that could be very helpful to the market, but also triple bottom, quadruple bottom support around 402.05. If broken, could be very negative for the market as well. So we'll have to see if this is a long coil or head and shoulder type top. NVIDIA, you must admit, NVIDIA, even though it made a nominal new high, didn't look like it, but it did. That was a week ago. And then this week it came down from 153 nearly to 131.80. This is like a 22-point drop before the bounce on Friday. And it was almost an island reversal, not quite. But the fact that it went below the moving average, closed at it, and then bounced the next day. We need NVIDIA through 139.35. And if we do that, we might see a little bit of a nice extension. My target on NVIDIA would be 157.8. Netflix has been awesome. And look at this pattern. Even after running up to the channel top and pulled back and now it's bouncing yet again, it could be a 1, 2, 3, 4. If we get a fifth wave or a market blow off, I'm expecting this could be 970. Wow. Watch this low. Under 858 might be an exit. Meta. Not happy with this. You can see this moving back after breaking down to support, moving back up in a rising wedge or flag. We've often seen these kind of patterns fail at the moving averages, which is right where it is, and roll over. Now, if it pops up through it, we probably test 600 pretty quickly. You get through that, and you're in shape, good shape. I'm concerned about the long-term trend line that I'm seeing here breaking down, at least the way I've drawn it. Maybe some flexibility in the way that in that angle, and it might look something like this. We'll see. But this is, in order to really prove itself, this has got to get back up at 600, 601. Your target then would be much higher in that 640.50 zone. Test has been very strong, folks. This is a beautiful gap, falling flag, gap, gap. That's called a breakaway gap, running gap, perhaps an exhaustion gap, but it also looks like a 1, 2, 3, 4. So a fifth wave could be had. And we may get to 400 on Tesla, believe it or not, if it breaks out of this wedge. Keeping that in mind, I'm trading and I'm looking at, and you hear me every day talk about TSLL, which I think is a much better play. This has gone from the October low at 888 to a high this week of 23.59. So almost a triple in about 6 weeks. Very nice. If it gets to the double top, it could be a real run into maybe test this high way back here at 27.5. That would be my target. Okay. Well, that covers the NASDAQ 100 generals. Let's look at some of the major ETFs we follow. The SMH is having a difficult time getting up to 263. And now, over the last 5 weeks, it's formed a falling wedge, got down to key support, even broke the moving average, and it wasn't able to get through it. So this is a negative pattern for me. And no question, semiconductors are lagging, which is maybe a good thing if there's group rotation. We'll see. But I just don't want to see this thing get underneath 230. That would signal a pretty dramatic break of support. That's semiconductors. Look at the financials who lead the way. Wow, impressive. Goldman Sachs has gone from 300 to 600. Take a look at this. That was a year ago. In 1 year, 100% move on Goldman Sachs. In a massive 1, 2, I think 3, 4, 5. Also, the long-term channel is right there. So this is pretty long-term extended, and but phenomenal. If you look at any of the banks, Wells Fargo, Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan in particular, those four, BAC as well, you can throw that in there, and Citibank. Phenomenal charts. I think that the first four look real strong. That's JP Morgan, MS, WFC, and Goldman Sachs. Anyway, that's why the FAS looks like this. Now it's also overbought and due for a pullback. Support is about 160, 162, and then 155. Extension targets would be about the 195 to 200 zone. Biotechs, tracked by the LABU, really ugly about 2 weeks ago, but what a nice snapback. The XBI, same. But you can see that it's not strong and it's snapped back to resistance, and if it fails here, biotechs could be in trouble, but we'll see. So that's a look at the indices, underlying technicals, and some of the major ETFs we follow. But there's some more. Let's look at gold and silver. The GDX, which is looking pretty ugly if you ask me, this is a broken channel, rolling over moving averages, a big leg down, a bounce to the bottom of the right-hand extension, but under 36 3/4, I'd be exiting gold because they could drop down to 33, 34. On the other hand, if you can get this V-bottom right-hand extended to break back out over 38.60 and then take out 39 3/4, those are the two levels of resistance on the GDX. That's gold, and you can look at Nugget, same pattern. If this has got a V-bottom right-hand extended, and if it breaks out, it could be very bullish. But there's a lot of resistance on this one. First, 45.5, and then the big one's at 50. So I'm not excited. HEQ, even worse. This has come down from 50 to 37, barely bouncing. And if it takes out last week's low of 36.5, it could plunge to low 30s. I'm not sure why, but precious metals just don't look as good. Simple as that. What about oil and gas? Well, here's the USO, which tracks the price of oil, and it's all over the place, forming a big wedge. But you can see the triple top breakdown, a rally to resistance failed, and we broke down and wedged now. We cannot break down from here, otherwise we're going down to 66 again, and maybe as low as 60 if it gets really ugly. But this is kind of a neutral negative pattern. And if you look at gas, it has improved. It was very negative for a while. Check this out, folks. You rarely see 1 and 2 island reversals. Very rare, within a week. So we get island reversal, popped to resistance and backed off, and then island reversal off the moving average and popped again. So if it gets above 48.25, we might see 52.3 on Boyle. And so keep an eye on KOLD on the downside. It could break down and rally back to resistance right here. Let me show it to you. Left an island reversal of a negative nature right at resistance from these lows. So it looks like a 1, 2, 3, 4, and the fifth wave could plunge into the mid 40s. So I'm being very careful with KOLD on the downside because it could be bearish. And then on the Boyle on the upside, it might be. It's amazing how they don't go together, but that's the case. Oh, that's oil and gas, gold and silver. I'm going to move on. We have a lot to cover. Individually, here's what we're looking at. AAOI has been a monster for us all year and multiple swing trade success. This time, breakout run up, flag, hold the trend line of moving average, spike and flag, and spike again. What else can I tell you? Anytime a stock goes from 7 to 45 or so, 44 in 120 days, sixfold in 120 days, yeah, I'll take that. That's pretty damn strong. How far can I go? Well, you can go back here and see that there's some overhead resistance back in here from 2018, but boy, it's a long time ago, and that's 47, 48 range. That's what I would look for my immediate target. Excuse me, if the market extends and you don't want to have this stock underneath. This is an easy stop, folks, under 34, okay, 34 and a half. Archer and Joby both doing this. This is pop, coil, and run up. The beautiful rising channel is taking it from 4 to 984, nearly 150% in a week and a half. While I'm on the subject, Joby also spiked from under 5 to 9.5. Very similar patterns, both extended, maybe short-term overbought. ACRS breaks out of a base, a really nice little line base after a massive down gap. A bad drug news, I assume. It's got from 120 to 520, and a 1, 2, 3, 4, and now a wedge form, but Friday May popped out. Your target is 6. Affirmed, one of our favorites, broke out here, pulled back, did it again, formed a nice consolidation above the breakout point, actually popped and pulled out one more time and formed a big wedge, and then break it vertical from 40 to 70. How about that? 40 to 71. At the top of the channel, overbought and extended, could use a consolidation. Next target, however, is 80. Agrify has been on fire, but it really reversed on Thursday. Be careful with this one. Anytime a stock goes from, look, check this out. You ready? $2.94 November 1st. $84 November 27th. So you up 40-fold in 3 weeks, and then you get a reverse like this, it's dangerous. Now, I would say Friday's low is a stopping point period. You don't want it under that. That'd be under 42. But the stock's 57, 15 points. It's going to be up to you what you do with this one. AI came to life a couple weeks ago and exploded with that one bar, and it's moved from 31 to 40. Consolidating in here, might need some more time, but 45 is my target. In the semiconductor group, ALAB, which recently went public back in March of this year, but based out in August, September, and then ran from 38, tripled to 113, and it's holding. Target 125 and 145 if it does that, especially if we get a market blow off. ALGAs, Alagos, long downtrend. This is a reverse split stock. Key breakout came here. I broke through that level with a breakout, and now it's a run up. Target 30. APLD, rounding type bottom, inverse head and shoulder, but and a little bit choppy. But you can see the move up to the highest level we've seen near 11 since back in May or June, about a year and a half high. If we get through here, we're looking at 2022. App's been phenomenal. I really don't track this every day anymore because, quite frankly, folks, anytime a stock goes from 60 to 340, okay, more than fivefold in 120 days, and after running from 10 to 105, here's the bottom line: a stock that goes from 10 to 337 or 33-fold in a couple of years is extremely extended. And I would put tight stops at the lows, recent lows, under 303. ARQQ breaks out of a base, spikes to resistance, forming some sort of wedge in here. If it breaks out, this could very well be high 20s, low 30s, but it's extended. ARQT breaks out of a base. Friday in particular was a big breakout day for it, up $1.30 or 11%. 2.5 million traded, 2.6 million. It could be coming out. If it gets across that level, I'm looking at 15, 16. American Sports with a nice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is extremely extended, having gone from 10 to 26 and a half in 90 days, 125 days, something like that. So just to keep you alerted that this is extended, be careful. Atomera is a tech credit swing that popped, wedge, and when it broke out, we put another swing on it. Went from 3.5 to 7 and doubled. And then it's pulled back and wedging in here, see it? So if it breaks out this little wedge that we're in, this thing could go vertical to 8 or 9. AUPH in the biotech sector breaks out of a base, coils, pops, falling wedge, pop, little wedge, I think it's going to see $10. That's my next target. AVP, I've been talking about this for a year now, ever since it broke out of the base and started to track upward. Then it accelerated. Now it's accelerating even some more. On a long-term basis, it's at all-time highs just above it, actually. There could be an extension on this because it looks like a 1, 2, 3, 4, but be careful. I don't want to see this below 17, and it's right there. If it goes, 21, 22 target. BE spiked. We put a swing on it. It went vertical. This is a gorgeous chart. Excellent momentum. Good volume. Lots of good things happening here. Looks to me like we can extend. My target's 32.3. BITX, well, it depends on what Bitcoin does, of course. This is a double ETF for Bitcoin that's run from around 19 to 65 and change. So anytime a stock triples like that, careful, especially with Bitcoin. But if Bitcoin goes to what I think it might, 115, 20, or 25 area, that could obviously extend. And then I would say something around 75, 80. BLDE Blade, nice base after a long downtrend and a vertical breakout. 6 days in a row, the stock's gone from 3.25 to 5.25. May need to consolidate, but I got to tell you that if it gets to here, we're looking at 6.5, 7. BLND, Blend Laboratories, beautiful long-term chart. Just recently broke out of another base. We tested it and it popped. The way it looks, if it keeps this angle, it's an $8 stock. Bristol Myers, one of my favorites. Pop, breakaway gap, coil, breakout, little wedgie, pop, retest, hold, breakout, fill the gap, run back up again. I got to tell you, I like Bristol Myers for a move to 65.6. BTCT, well, this all depends on my opinion, what Bitcoin does. But this one exploded literally from 175 to 27 and change. I mean, and then formed a wedge. But I often see that this, when it's that big a move, the consolidation takes longer and or it goes deeper. So careful. But above 20, it could fly. Another one is BitDeer. Multiple tops, new all-time high Friday, but it did back off to retest. Nevertheless, it's a breakout with a target of 18. BYRN, Tech Trader Swing, popped out, ran up to the target, pulled back, formed a wedge and broke out again. And then pulling back a little bit here, but your support is 17.5. There's price and moving average support there. If it gets to 22, I would look for 26.7 on this chart. CAPR, what a wonderful explosive move this had. How about 4 to 23.40 in 3 weeks, and then almost a 2-month coil. So that's fine. Underlying technicals look pretty good. They've turned neutral. That's what you want to see. What you really need, though, for starters, before you get overly committed, above 20 with energy, and then above 23.40 probably get you high 20s and mid 30s. CCJ, the premier uranium stock. Look at this chart. In 4.5 years, it's gone from 5 to 60, 12-fold. Recently wedged and popped, pulled back earlier in the week, and then now forming another consolidation. Target is 65. CCL, this is a Carnival Cruise Lines. You may remember a 1.5 years ago, I talked about this inverse head and shoulders. It broke out, pulled back to the breakout point, popped to resistance 2-3 times. Finally broke through here. That was where the swing should have been put on at 19.5. It's now 25. Target 30.31. CDXC can be thinly traded, but explosive. Pop and rising flag. Something to watch because this could extend to 8, 9, 10. At this point, my support's about 6.25. Celebrate. Look at this. Under 4 to over 20. It continues to push. I can't tell how far it goes, but this flag here tells me we're not done yet. Target's 22. CMPO. Breaks out of a base with a breakaway gap, spikes up, rising pattern, then a one-day hit, right back up again. Usually when you see that, right, V bottom right hand extension and a pop, it'll go higher. At this point, I'm looking for 21.2. CNTA, Centessa Pharmaceuticals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves up in the flag, and now it's moving yet again. It's not done yet. Although I would definitely put a stop under 14.5. My target is 21.2. Core, well, I've been talking about that for 2 years. Popped out, pulled back and retested, filled the gap, ran up, retested, formed the new rising channel, ran to the channel top. A little bit extended here, but it's consolidating nicely. Your next target is 112 and 130. CONL, the tracking stock for Coinbase, did very well with this one as it exploded. We put a swing on it, went from 38 to 75. It doubled in a week. 71, sorry. Pulled back. Look at the wedges formed. Now, obviously, you want to keep a stop underneath 48. If it runs, targets are 69, 75, and 90. Everything depends on if we get Bitcoin to 120, this will probably be there. The measure move alone can get you higher up there. Court comes out of a big base, pulls back, then explodes at a 45-degree angle rising channel. It's forming some sort of wedge in here, see it? And as a result, we pop out of that. I'm looking for 66, 68. Credo broke out on Friday as well, same pattern, extension target 59. CRNC pop, we put a swing on it right there as it was breaking out and ran right to the target and pulled back. It's forming a wedge. Next target would be to test the gap here at 820. Once we get through that, you can probably get it up to 9 3/4, 10. A little CRNT finally broke out of the channel with a breakaway gap and a pullback and then popped here. That was the key above 320. It went from 320 to 470. Near the top of this, what I had drawn here is a long-term channel. So it's totally extended, but phenomenal momentum. If it gets through here, we're looking at 6 and 7. CRV Corvus breaks out of its base and is a rising channel with a wedge, a flag here, falling wedge there, another one there. Looks to me like 14's your target. CXW and GEO, both of these are prison management firms that exploded after Trump got elected because he prefers privatization of prison management. Look at that breakaway gap, vertical move, and now a wedge. And here's GEO. This one looks even better as it's got a rising channel. I also prefer this company from a standpoint of which one do I want to trade. 33 target. I'm going to just show you this real quickly. Airlines are going crazy since oil's come down. Delta's gone from 38 to 67. UAW has gone, believe it or not, 38 to 101. Amazing move. American has gone from 9 to 15. Not as strong, of course. The weaker company right now, although it's the #1 airline in the world. I wanted to show you those three and Jets if you want to trade the ETF. But this is really extended. And the airlines from the beginning of August, this Jets has gone 1648 to 25. It's a big move for an ETF and it's broke out of the base too. If it gets through here, you're looking at high 20s. Wouldn't that be something? Chinese stock Dow with a pop wedge. I put it out this week because it just broke out of the wedge and went vertical. Don't know how far they can take this, maybe 7 or 8. DIS, what a recovery on Disney. After that spectacular report it had recently, it popped and ran vertically. There's resistance right here, but it seems to want to get through that. And how about a complete recovery on Disney all the way back to 123 3/4, which is your target now. However, I would also keep probably a stop under 113.5 if you want to do a tight one. And if you want to do a little looser one, it's 110. Now, DJT, monster move. Must have known he was getting elected. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 truncated fifth wave held support. Hasn't broken out yet, but you want to keep your eye on this one. The underlying technicals look very good. And if DJT gets over 34, it might run to 40, 44. So something to keep an eye on for sure. And the aerospace group, DRS, has been phenomenal all year, and then finally accelerated. But after pulling back, it's flagging yet again or coiling in here. Take a look. Let's call it a wedge. If we got this wedge, it'd be $40 stock. DXYZ, it's the ETF, tech ETF, I believe. And it went vertical. Listen to this: 5 days, 11 to 50. Fivefold in 5 days. Then a deep fib retracement about 0.375. That recovered sharply from the 26.7 range back up to 47.8. And if it breaks out of this, this thing can go vertical. Now, Just on a measure move alone, I'm looking for high 70s, but we'll see. Something to watch. ERJ is a tech trader swing that we put out when it broke out, I believe it was back in May. It's a beautiful run up since from about the 27 range into low 40s, tagging 41 or so on our last trading session. Now my target's going to be 48.9 and 55. EXEL, one of our old favorites, long base. 2017 to 2024, 6-7 year base and finally breaking out. Always watch the stock with a big base that can have a big move. And they also say the bigger the base, the bigger the move. Right now, momentum's on a side here. 40 and 44 targets. Flex is the neck trader swing. I think I put it out here when it was coiling back. Wait a minute, I may be wrong. I'll have to check on the dates. Anyway, it's gone from 22 to 42, doubled, hit the top of the channel and backed off. I just need you to stop this one under 36.5 or 35.75, whichever you feel is best for you. Nevertheless, the target is 44.5. FTK, oil and gas services, left shoulder, head, right shoulder, breakout. Up near the resistance at the first target. Next target, I'm looking at 11.75, 12. Corning glass, beautiful rising channel. Highest level we've seen in Corning since way back in 2000 is a 25-year high. Might extend into the mid and even high 50s or low 60s. GRR finally broke out. A month ago, we put a buy on it when it popped a wedge here of the coil. And then it pulled back and tested support and held it and exploded. It went from 365 to 665, and it's at resistance. Should it get through here, we're looking at 9. GTS breaks out of a big base, pops flags, pops falling wedge, and runs again. Its long-term chart shows this is all-time high, and the stock can scoot into the mid-20s for starters. HIMS, check this little baby out. From 2.5 to 32.5 over the last 3 years. Recently popped and broke out, hit the channel top and backed off. But if momentum carries this, we might see 40. Honest company, long downtrend, breakout, falling wedge, pop, another wedge here. And when that broke out, it went vertical from 3.5 to 9. Very nice move. At this point, it is extended, so I'm looking for a consolidation. Then a test of 10.5. Robinhood breaks out here, flags, pops, has a big hit, I guess on earnings, but it held support. Right back up again, and from 14 to 37 in about let's call it 4 months. Target, extension target 45.6. HSAI, beautiful breakout of the base and went vertical to resistance. Now it's backing and filling in here. It may not be done, especially if it gets to 8.75. I would then look for 12. Okay, keep an eye on HSI next week. AMAT, golly, what a great chart. This aerospace stock has gone from high 20s to 118, and still looks like a rising flag says we're going to 125.28. INDI pop, we put a swing on it, came right down, reversed, rebroke out here at 4.75, but it went back to resistance and backed off. If it gets to, and this is what you want to look for, above 555, 6.5, 7.75 type targets. INOD, we've been involved with this one a long time. It popped in rising wedge, and then it ran to the target, pulled back in the coil, broke out, secondary target. This stock just doesn't quit. And I think, based on what I know about this company and the chart, and the long-term picture, all-time highs, that we might be headed for 60. INOQ, powerful, real powerful. Here's your breakout, around 10. Stock goes to 37. Look at that move. Momentum indeed. If it extends, you might see 43 to 45. KC, that's the Chinese cloud company, Kingsoft. Beautiful chart. Breakaway bat. Here, look at these gaps. Gap, gap, gap. and then gap down and gap up again. So this is a wedge. If we break through, watch this one next week above 7.25. You're looking at 9 and 10. Suddenly Kodak woke up, and in 2 weeks has gone from 4 to almost 8. So that's called 7.75. It broke through everything except this level here where there is resistance. So expect it could back off. If it doesn't, it might spike to 8 or 9. LITE, a text rated swing when it broke out here, I believe that at around 59 has made it up into the 90s, 91.21, and consolidating bullishly. Your next target is 98, 105. Lemonade breaks out of a beautiful long-term base. Look at this base. Pops through resistance and just keeps going. My extension target is 62. Large superfood, pop coil, pop flag, pop long coil, mini flag, another flag, wedgie, and another one. Boy, this is one beautiful chart for low price stock. It literally went from 75 cents to 10.75, 10.35. I think this is a $14, $15 stock. Absolutely stellar. Lumn exploded, wedged. We put a swing on it. It popped to resistance, backed off coil, broke out, finally hit the targets and backed off. Don't think it's done yet unless it breaks down. Of course, you put a stop here under 590.95. But my extension target is $12. Lunar, love this chart. Breakaway move, about a 3-week coil, spiked up with a breakaway, another 6-week coil, then another pop up. This time, even with this reversal bar, it was only for 1 day, and now the stock has huge momentum. Target 20. LX, excuse me, exploded in September, pulled back and formed a long 6-week coil. It broke out last week. Target 6. MBLY popped out. We put a swing on it. It's slow, but it's moving. If it can get through 1915, my target to 21 and 25. MPNR with a 1-day explosive move that took it literally from 487 to 38.5. You remember that on 20 million shares. Then pulled back and did about a 0.375 fit. But ever since then, it's been slowly edging back up again. And it's gone from the pullback low at 12.55 to Friday's high at 23. So nearly double on that move. If we get to that level, you might see high 20s, low 30s. MP, the second largest rare earth company in the world behind China, long downtrend. But when it broke out, I put a swing on it and then wedged, stair-stepped up, came back down. And look at the move in the last week and a half, taking it from 1765 to 2170. About 4 points. And it's coming up to resistance, but if it gets to that level, 22 and 26 are targets. Mullen, I may have been premature. A long, long downtrend for this reverse split stock. Okay, and then a left shoulder head and a right shoulder might be forming, or at least a V bottom with a platform. And it did spike here, and at which point we put a swing on it. But it's pulled back from 340, it's 368 at the high. It's tested 2 3/4 for about 2 weeks now, almost 3 weeks. So what I really need is for this to get above 365, then you're off to 5, 6, and 7 or more. Watch that for a pop breakout day when it trades a lot of volume. That could be a great trade. MWA long term, phenomenal. This is a water company. 12 to 26, new all-time highs. Extension target 27. All right, NANX pop, put back a wedge. We put a swing on it. When it broke out here, it's gone from 2 to 270. A new high was hit Friday. That's the highest level in 2 years. I do think we got a shot at taking this into that 3.5, 3/4 range next. NCLH, this is a cruise line, Norwegian Caribbean. Look at that breakout, flag, pop, and wedge. May not be done either. I think the cruise lines, along with the airlines, are really benefiting from the price of oil being soft. NCLH target now. Well, we'll start with 30 and then 34. NNE, the nuclear group. You gotta respect the trend, but you see it ran up to resistance and pulled back. So my stop is going to be under there, 20. We get above the recent high. We're looking at high 30s, mid to high 40s or more. I'm not kidding. It's a 1, 2. This is only 3 and a 1, 2, 3, 4 of 3. So we'll see. NRG, another stock in that same group, the energy providers, utilities. This is a $125 stock in my opinion. NTRA, which popped and coiled in here, I believe was back in March at about 80 or 85, has doubled to 170, 195. Doesn't look done to me. I'm looking for 198, 200. NXL popped. We put a swing on it. It went from 2.25 to 436, flagged, and now it's itching to break out. You can see it. My target is now 6 and 7, believe it or not. OKLO, another of those power generators. Now this one has had a more extensive consolidation, and I'm okay with that. Although you may consider a laggard, the underlying technicals look pretty good during a consolidation. Watch for a move over 26.5 and go long for a move into the low to mid 30s, if not more. This could very well be a $40, $50 stock. Depends on that group and how long they want to, or how far they want to take them. Omer's popped a wedge and then exploded. It's now flagging. I don't know what they want to do with this one, but it's a beautiful long-term base too. And ultimately, I'm looking for 18 and 23. ONON popped and broke out here. We put a swing on it. It's moved from the mid 30s to the high 50s. It targets 70 plus. OPRA coming out of a base, pulling back, forming a wedge and breaking out. Target 23. PAY broke out of a coil, popped and formed a little bit of a pennant, and then went vertical. Look at the way this is acting. 45 target. PAYO also broke out of a base. It started to trend upward and then accelerated. And at this point, the way I'm going to look at this is that it's in a rising channel that says we're going to 12. That should help us. Hold on a sec. Okay. PCT broke out of a base, pop, coil, pop, wedge, and breakout, or almost. Let's just say this. Stop it under 10. Over the spike high above 15.5. Targets 18.5 and 22. PDX, thinly traded, but what a chart. I wanted to show it to you. Long base. Usually the longer the base, the bigger the move. Look at this base. Breakout, falling wedge. This is a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a wedge. Fifth wave could spike into the 60s, but keep an eye on this one. P9, big day, and an 8-month coil pattern with explosive breakout, taking it from 175 to 7 and change, almost 8, and then pull back for 1 day and spike back up on Friday. So watch this as support. And stop is under 5. Over 7, 35, 38, 9, and 11 are targets. Keep an eye on that one. PLL popped and pulled back, and then it started to go, and I put a swing on it, but it continued to back and fill, forming a new consolidation, but it's coming out of a long downtrend. And now your targets are 15, 17.5, and 20. Palantir has amazed a lot of people on Wall Street, but not us, because this inverse head and shoulder and breakaway gap right there a year and a half ago told us this could go much higher. It went from 7, folks, to 67, and is really ramped up. I don't know how far they take it, but I can see 70, 75. Philip Morris is a quality stock, blue chip, coil, breakout, explode, falling wedge, and popping wedge again. I think maybe this is a $145 stock. Poet, tech trader swing, popped here, broke out, ran up, pulled back, it's running again, target 7.5, 8. PRCH, pop wedge, and pop wedge. So I don't know if it's the 5th wave or not, or done, but my target's 4 3/4. Peloton breaks out of a beautiful base, runs up, flags and pops. I don't know where it's going, but it sure looks like it's $12 is my number right now. QBTS comes down like this, forms a base right here, breaks out, retests, and then spikes. If this is a 1, 2, 3, and this is 4, the 5th wave is 4 3/4. That's my target. QUBT similar, breaks out of a base, and does a 1, 2, 3, 4 as well. The minimum target will be a retest of 10, and then we're looking at 14, 15, 16. Red Cat, how about this one? Long downtrend, pop, retest, and then start a new uptrend. Accelerate, and really accelerate. In the last 2 weeks, it's gone from 3.5 to 12. So I'm not sure how much further they can take it. You can see it's at some key resistance up here, so be careful. But who knows with momentum, the stock, where this can go. Maybe get another couple, 3 points on it. RDW, similar. It had a big run in the last month, 7.5 to 14 at the top of the channel. coming up to long-term resistance. That would be a target of mine if it does accelerate near 16.5. REPL. Popped on news and pulled back. We have a swing on this one. I just needed to hold a little pullback low. Under 1270, out. Above 1465, I would go long, especially if there's volume. For a move to 16, 17, and 19. Rigetti broke out of a base, formed a wedge, and exploded. Now pulled back, but that didn't quite fill the gap, and now it's moved right back. Friday was a good day for it. 28% gain on 127 million, would you believe? So if this one gets above 336, you're looking at 4.5, 5. Rklb has been rocketing all right with a breakaway here and a flag, pop another flag and another one, and then a spike up, pull back retest, and more new highs. So this one in essence has gone from 4 to 27 in 90 days or 120 days. Look at that chart. New all-time highs and extended. I'd be careful. Every day this stock is making a higher low, so keep a stop under that low. Under 25, you're gone. If it runs, low 30s. SE, the big Chinese software company, it literally gone from 36 to 114.15. It may not be done. I can see it going much higher, but be careful. It's Chinese. SEI, beautiful long-term base, really nice 5-year base. And then a vertical move with hardly any pullback that took it from 13 to 25. How far can they take this? Momentum's a funny thing, folks. The trend is your friend. I would call high 20s. Sweet greens, the tech trader swing. I think it was back here when it broke out. Then it pulled back and it's worked its way higher. My target's 50 and 55. Shopify's all-time highs? No, not quite, but it is multi-year highs. Breakaway gap, and now pop right back. My target's 130 and 140. SMR is my favorite in the nuclear energy group. I think it's a $40, $50 stock. Gorgeous chart. SOC thinly traded. Sable Offshore though with a 1, 2, 3, 4 is maybe moving up again. And you can see the room that this has to go. The retest has to take me to 29 first. That's your first target, and then I'm looking mid 30s. SoFi, beautiful long-term long-term base, and then a rising channel. Quite strong. Careful, can't tell how far they take it, but there's big resistance at 17. Target's 21 if it does. Soon breaks out of a big base, forms a wedge, pops, pulls back and tests, and goes again. My target immediately is a retest of 10.5, and then we'll see if it gets to 12, 13. SRRK with a big explosive gap 2 months ago on drug news, and then a 2-month quote, but it broke out again last week. So keep an eye on 43 and 38 because through that, you're looking at 50 and 60. SRTS has been a slow, steady recovery after disastrous early 23, where you saw a 5-wave decline, took it from 16, 17 down to under 2. But from that point back to 9, and now in a little flag. My target's 11 and 15. Swing trade talk broke out again. We put another swing on it. It popped again and it pulled back. It looks like it wants to go. Get this one above here, above 360, and you're looking at 4 and 4 3/4. TKNO popped, rising flag, and from there, rising channel. Target 11. TPR in the electric good retailer, long-term breakout. 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5th wave is underway, which could extend to the high 60s. Track, beautiful long-term chart. I mean, beautiful. 4 to 23, target 27. TTI, we put a swing on it when it broke out. It pulled back and then ran right back up again. If we get to 412, my target's 4.5 and 5. TBTX, a beautiful long-term rising channel, breaks out of a base here. Pops flags, pops a long flag, and should we get out of this pattern, 23 and 29 would be targets. Unity Software broke out of inverse head and shoulders and then pulled back to the neckline, then ran up again. I'm looking for 26 and 29. UEC in the uranium group, you can see there's multiple tops here and it's all-time highs. I think 11 and 13 are targets. UIS popped and pulled back. We put a swing on it. It's gone from under 5 to over 9. And right now my target remains 9.5, 3/4, maybe 10. UMAC, phenomenal move in the last couple weeks. Look at this pop and flag here. Kind of a precursor to what might be coming. And anytime, this is why I look for these patterns every morning on 1-minute charts. The same thing occurs on daily. Pop, week-long flag. There's your breakout bar. Literally gone from 2 3/4. Are you ready? To 19.5 in a week and a half. So you think this is extended? Yeah, it is. Be careful. Unified, the food company, popping out of a coil and moving. My target now 29.5, 30. Upwork breaks out of a long downtrend with a breakaway gap, and then it goes Rip City, reverses, fills the gap right there, right back up, nearing the high. My target set 18, 19 zone. Verisight breaks out of a beautiful long-term base, retests, flags, pops, wedges, and goes again. Momentum could take this to the 54 range. Vimeo's a tech traded swing. It popped, pulled, and it put a swing on it, then backed off a little bit. Look at the wedge on it. If it breaks this wedge, 7 3/4 and 9 are my targets. VRNA is a beautiful stair-step up type chart. Pop flag, pop flag, pop flag. You can see all the way. Now it's doing a wedgie with a target of 47.8. VST in the energy group, I'll tell you what, the way this is set up, I think 185.90 and eventually 225 would be a possibility on this one. Boozy exploded on a strong report, new orders, and it's wedging in here. But I like to break out of the long-term declining pattern. There is some resistance up here. If it gets to 3, you might see 4 and 5. Wave breaks out, pops back from a long coil, then pops and forms a wedge, and another one, and then right up to resistance. So watch it carefully because through here, 18 to 22 targets. WGS is a tech traded swing when it broke out here in May, and it's gone from the mid-teens to the 107 range. What was the high? No, I'm wrong. 89. I don't know why I thought it was that high. Anyway, there's a flag here, and it's popping again. And if it gets to that level, this might spike into the 100 and 120 range. Warby Parker, but long base, multi-year base, and breaking out. My extension targets would be somewhere about 30. WVE Wave Life Sciences, pop wedge, pop flag. We get another wave up, 19.5 target. XCUR has gone vertical, folks. 270, 36. Seriously? 12-fold in about a week and a half, 2 weeks. So I wouldn't touch this with a 10-foot pole unless you want to play momentum, but you better have a stop on the Thursday's low. 26.40 and you're out. If it does run, it might get to 40 or better. Who knows? Xena exploded last week and pulled back, and had filled that gap, and then Friday reversed. Something to watch. Your target would be a retest of 13, 12.5. I'm going to say 9 3/4 and 12.5. And lastly, Zeta, which we all know we did great with when it broke out and just kept running. Literally went from 15 to 45 pre-market, and then it got slam dunked on a bad short report. We said it was going to recover. It went 16 to 28. I'm sorry, 23, 7 points. And now this is a V bottom with a right-handed extension. And if it holds that low, you can easily put a stop on the 19, 19.5. The target to 26, 28, and low 30s. And folks, I'm going to go over a few shorts for you. I added some new ones, but I'm not overly enthusiastic yet on the short side. But here's a look. AMAT has a head and shoulder stop, and even with the market rallies, hardly been able to bounce. So watch this for a breakdown and lower lows. And if it does that, we might see about down to 150, even 138. Boot Barn is a tech traded swing short because I think the snapback or the kiss back after a breakdown might be a short entry opportunity. I really want to wait to see if Friday's low gets taken out under 135 first. Then your target's 110 and 98. Qualcomm, again, another tech stock that just isn't reacting well. Look at the head and shoulder top, the breakdown of this long bear flag that broke down but didn't break through support. So any move on Qualcomm underneath 153, 152.5 might lead to 20 points lower. Weatherford, we put a swing on it up here at 109 and made it down into the 79, 77 range and bounced. I don't know if it's done yet. The stop is over 90. If it drops here, you can see the angle of descent could take you down to 75, even 68. ATI snap back to resistance. Let's see what that does, but it could be bearish, although it hasn't broken its trend line yet. Bluebird, again, it looked like it was breaking down. It actually broke through support here. And now it's trying to kiss back to the moving average there and may have failed. Let's just say this. If it rolls over, your target's 32 and 28. CAMT tech trader swing short at 96, made it down to 70, 71, and still looks lousy to me. CEG, thought it broke down, but it snapped right back, so this should be eliminated for now from the swing short list. Crocs, massive top, breakdown, and snapback. I don't know where this can go, but I can say where there's going to be big resistance. Anything in this zone of 113 and 117, if it rolls over from there, I would look for 96 and 85. DHI head and shoulder top, breakdown a wedge, but it did break back out. Now it hasn't really broken back out, but it will snap back to resistance. If it gets to 178, it's a cover. And anything here now that reverses lower could take out 158 and drop into the high 140s, if not all the way down to 136 here, which is a possibility. HCA breakdown bear flag and then going lower. This is hardly bouncing and looking quite ugly. Next target down would be there at 300. HROW broke its trend and now might be forming a bear coil. We shall see. LDOS, massive breakdown. And this is a bear flag or bear wedge as well. Anything below 155 in the stock could plunge into the 140, 130 range. LEN, Lennar, it's a home builder with a head and shoulder top, breakdown, and now doing this. I'm not sure if the new channel that I'm drawing here is accurate. You don't want to be in the stock above 180, so that's a stop if you're shorting it. I prefer under 170 because then you can look at 162 and 149. Lilly can be considered short because it broke down technically, but it's just too strong a stock with too much going on for it right now. And I'm not, unless I see this roll over and take this out here, that's where I get more aggressive because then it can fall apart. LOGI, bear wedge, another one. I'm not sure what's going on with Logitech, but it doesn't look pretty, does it? And if it breaks through here, that right there, it could plunge to 67.8. Molina Healthcare, big breakdown, snap back to the trend. Look at the long-term trend. Long-term trend line broken and retested, so it's forming a left shoulder, hand, right shoulder. The reason I have it on my list is for you to be cognizant of the fact that if it breaks that line, it may be headed to 200, 210. Micron, another semiconductor in trouble. Only if it gets over 113.14 would I cover it. But the downside is 85 and 73. NBIX breaks its long-term channel. Breakaway gap, snap back to resistance. Nothing to do here until it rolls over. If that pattern's taken out, you're looking at 105 and maybe 90. NVO head and shoulder, breakdown, little bounce, little bounce, little bounce. Not really going anything happening here. Really lousy technicals. Looking for lower levels, 96, 89, maybe even 79. ONTO. Let's just say that this channel broke. Kiss back, rising wedge, breakdown. I would say if it gets under 143.45 here, and then it can fall apart. Impinge, which I loved for years, and it's one of my favorites, broke down, wedge, broke down, and snapped back. For me, it's in a new downtrend until it tells me otherwise. And there's some support right there at 170. That's your target. Below that, 145. So this could get ugly if it breaks down. The underlying technicals aren't weak enough, so I would wait for the rollover. PSN, big drop. Weak snap and rolling over already. It looks to me like it wants to test two places, which all happen to be in the same spot. Well, not quite. So if it gets below the trend line, it's just at it. The next target would be at the gap and maybe fill the gap. So 85 and 79. Scorpio Tankers has been on my list for 3 months in stock. You can see the rising breakdown, snapback, retest, call it a rising bear wedge there, bear flag, and then crushed 75 to 49. TDW in the oil sector, very weak. Below support and could fall apart. Another TK Tankers, head and shoulder top and a breakdown, but it won't even bounce back for an entry opportunity. Target 36. UHS breaks down the gap, breaks down again, test support, and bounces. The stop's over 212. Underneath 188, the stock could be 177, 155. VRM is the head and shoulder top breakdown. This is a bear wedge, folks. Something to keep an eye on. If this breaks here, and it's not an expensive stock, my target's 20 and 18. XYL breaks down and forms what I consider a bear flag. See it? Easy stop above 130. A roll over here could retest 118 and then drop down to 110 or less. And finally, Yelp, a long-term downtrend, finally popped back out again. So this one's being eliminated from my list for now. And folks, that's it today. Extensive review of long, shorts, ETFs, and a long list of stocks and indices and underlying technicals. As I say every week, please review these, get some ideas, and get some idea of where your support and resistance is on some of your favorite stocks. Make some notes. Be prepared. Preparation and focus is the key to trading, folks. I ask that you come in early every day, be with me pre-market, and get an idea of what I'm looking at and why, so that not only can you get the ideas for trading that day, but maybe learn something permanently. This is HB signing off. Enjoy the rest of your holiday weekend. This is HB saying bye for now.